The government gave us some money and they said, go stimulate the economy, but we're all locked down, so I'm just trying to stimulate these bills because the bills don't care about the quarantine. But anytime, as a YouTuber, you get a little bit of extra scratch, a little bit of extra unexpected anything, you go, how can I improve upon my production? If you care about what you do here on YouTube, then obviously you want to make it look its best, sound its best, etc., etc. And I've already gotten these studio lights, I've already gotten this green screen, this microphone could use an improvement. However, one thing I have been doing for the past 8 years is that literally every video game I've captured on this channel outside of PC games, any console game I've captured on this channel has been through this deal right here, one of the most reliable pieces I've had in my setup, which is a Hauppauge HD PVR2. Bought this in 2013. It has recorded about 4,000 videos. It has been a trooper and has nailed it just about every time. There were, a few issues here and there, but generally has nailed it every time, and I can't say enough good things about it, except for the fact that my videos have been in 720p. You may have noticed, because this does do 1080, but only 30 frames. And personally, I value frame rate for video games over resolution. I value bit rate for video games over resolution. But it's 2020, and we have game consoles supposedly launching this year. PS5, Xbox Series X. And the major thing besides the SSDs and the speed of those machines is going to be the resolution. It's going to be 4K. That is the future. We'll get there eventually. So I thought, you know what? Let me future-proof this channel a little bit going forward. Let me get my gaming channel from 720p. We're going to jump right over 1080, and we're going to go to 4K. So some of that money I got from the government to stimulate the economy, I have used to get myself an Elgato 4K 60S Plus. I can now capture in 4K with HDR, even though HDR is an issue to edit, but still, I can capture in 4K. So that, my friends, is the new thing for this channel. That is the new direction, and that requires even more ridiculous wiring, even though I'm moving soon, it's a whole different thing, right? But it requires even more of a ridiculous setup here, because to capture in 4K, but also with my current setup in terms of this TV, in terms of my 4K TV over there, it's going to be a wiring nightmare. Let's walk you through it. So we have the Elgato. We have, importantly, the Sony SD card, which tells you the write speed. Yeah, the read speed is important, but the write speed when you're writing to the SD card at 4K is pretty important. We also have a card reader, because these are very large files on this thing, and for my situation, we have the Echo Split HDMI splitter. And I'm sure you're wondering, why is this simple 2-channel HDMI splitter so important? Why is this part of this chain in recording stuff at 4K with the Elgato and the SD card, etc., etc.? It's because that my 4K TV, hi, how you doing, on the wall over here. The TV that I record and am in front of is this 1080p TV right here. Obviously, the studio lights are right here, and my green screen is down here on the floor. So if I wanted to use the green screen with this TV, I had to have lights over here, and move the green screen over here, and as you can see, it's very cramped in this room. So this little guy, it exports the HDMI 1 out is a full 4K picture. HDMI 2 out is a downscaler to 1080p. Therefore, my situation here, my setup, does not need to change, as I will get the output here, and it will still record 4K from there. Good times. And the other extraordinarily important benefit to this guy right here is that as long as HDMI 1 is plugged into this Elgato here, even if the Elgato is not exporting to another 4K TV, it will still capture in 4K. So when I am out and about and I'm recording somewhere else, I'm not home, I don't have a 4K TV to capture to, I can still capture in 4K. Talking to you, Todd, get a 4K TV. What are you doing? Now, I am well aware this current setup is absolutely ridiculous. There's the Elgato, there's the Echo split, and there is my usual HDMI splitter for all my consoles, right? But, as you can see here on the 4K TV, we're at 4K. As you can see on the 1080p TV, we are still at 4K. That still works, and I can still capture, even though it's downscaling this TV to its native 1080p. So here I am in my usual spot in front of these hot lights, in front of this green screen, but if I get up, and you will see that certainly behind the green screen, there's the TV in the 4K, and everything is working as is intended. And perhaps you're wondering, well, what about HDR? Because when you mention 4K, you gotta mention HDR, right? And I looked into some of that. Number one, this particular splitter that makes this whole thing possible in my usual recording position only supports 4K. Does not support HDR, HDR10, none of that, right? So that's not possible at this point with this current setup. Now granted, I'm going to be moving, and therefore I won't need this splitter for what I do here, or what I do where I'm going to be moving, because I would just have things with a brand new setup for my green screen, etc., etc. That won't be a problem, right? But the other problem on my end, there we go, on my end, is that my monitor, my PC monitor, is from 07. That thing's pretty old, and certainly does not support 4K or HDR. So I can't edit HDR footage on my usual computer monitor. Again, more things can always be upgraded here on YouTube when you're serious about doing the YouTube. And if perhaps you're wondering, well, I don't have a 4K monitor. How can I watch your content in 4K? What even is the point if I don't have that 4K monitor? Here's the point, right? Is that when you encode in 4K and YouTube transcodes down to 1080, 720, 360, etc., etc., that footage will look better. It will look sharper, it will look cleaner, even though you're only watching it in 1080 on your phone or wherever you happen to watch it. So any video that is originally 4K and is downscaled on your end through YouTube is gonna look better, gonna look sharper, gonna look cleaner, even if you aren't getting the full benefit of that 4K resolution. Just the nature of the much higher bit rate is going to help tremendously for my video quality here on the channel. And yeah, there's a lot of work to do. A lot of work to be done to get the whole channel up to speed outside of, a video here and there. So don't expect an overnight, oh my god, everything is 4K now, because that's just not how things work in the world. There's a lot of learning to be done. And whether or not I ever get to the HDR thing entirely, maybe not. Maybe perhaps on my second channel, because I can just upload there just unedited raw gameplay with the HDR. But in terms of me in front of the camera, my camera here does not do HDR on this bit of business. So again, there's always more equipment that you can buy. There's always more upgrades you can do if you care about doing YouTube. If you think that your craft could be better represented here on the channel, and I do, right? Obviously, next thing up would be a better microphone, but we'll get there when we get there. Hey, if the government sends me more money, then I'll be happy to get more equipment and upgrade this channel like that. But right now, as I said, there are bills to pay. And most of that money is going to stimulate those bills, because that is just what it is as I roll this semi with a terrible score there in Wreckfest. And I know perhaps you're thinking, why bother with 4K? It is such a small part of the overall audience who might even be able to see it in 4K when most of my audience watches these videos on their cell phones. But technology is not going to stop. 4K eventually is going to be the future, and then 8K, and then who knows what else, right? The inevitable march towards the future cannot be stopped. This train cannot slow down. And perhaps you're thinking, well, why go through all this effort for what is effectively a dead channel in 2020 and has been dead since like fall of 2018? Besides the point, because if you believe in what you're doing, everyone loves a good comeback story. If you believe in what you're doing, you want to put out your best possible version of your content. And for me, that next step with PS5 and Xbox Series X is going to be in 4K. So I'm attackslug, and y'all ain't got rid of me just yet, and I'm gonna be here gradually moving all my stuff over to 4K. It's not gonna be an immediate thing. I have a lot of intros and outros that need to get reworked from 720 to 4K. I've got a lot of work to do, but this is the first step getting there in acquiring the hardware, and I hope you'll join me here as I make that move, that transition here on the channel. I'm attackslug. Thanks for watching. More videos right here. See you next time in 4K, probably. And I'm out.